Oh yes, isn't the end of the season the best time to talk about its drama? After all, drivers and engineers are limited in terms of what they can or can't say during a season, as they might heavily affect the team's performance over the course of the championship. But now that there are no stakes left, drivers finally feel free to talk about some serious topics that would otherwise remain uncovered. And today, we're talking about Charles Leclerc and what he said during an interview about his team, Ferrari, and its treatment to drivers. So let's begin. We all know that Ferrari hasn't been the most respected team during recent times, with all the mess they did in 2022, managing to throw away a championship where they had an almost 50 points lead over the second driver and making sure that Leclerc couldn't win his WDC. It's no wonder that he feels like he isn't being respected enough. In fact, that's pretty much exactly what Charles Leclerc has said in a recent interview. The Ferrari driver was recently asked by an interviewer how he felt about the team, and let's just say he didn't hold back in any way. According to his words, when asked about how the team treated him, he said that it's something that I personally can't control, so I prefer to focus on what I can manage and on my driving. These are things that are dealt with internally if I feel I need to. My job is to do the best possible and then the team must push in my direction. That's my answer. Let's just say he tried to shift the focus of the question more on him than on Ferrari. He in fact knows that the Maranello team has had a really difficult season, but still he'd like to keep racing, so getting in a fight with his own team wasn't something in his plans. We can, however, see a kind of anger towards his team in a way. In fact, when he says that the team needs to push in his direction, he means it not just as a recommendation, but also as a way to not forget what happened in the UK this season. At that race, Ferrari were incredibly fast. Carlos Sainz got pole position on Saturday, while his teammate got third just behind his rival in the championship, Max Verstappen. The race played out well and in favour of the red team, and all was going smoothly, especially after Zhou Guanyu's incident, which gave Sainz the opportunity to get a better start than the one he had at the first lights out. Even though it was a weird race with only 14 classified finishers, a mega accident at the start, and Leclerc's Ferrari comfortably leading the race, the impossible happened. Ocon's car stopped with not that many laps left, and, unfortunately for the Monegasque driver, this happened right when he was passing in front of the pit lane entry, meaning that his team had very little time to choose whether to change strategy, pitting their leader for a brand new set of tyres, losing track positions in the hopes of regaining them again, or just letting him race with his old and cold hard tyres. Of course, they took the worst decision. They let him stay out. They are Ferrari, what did you expect? After that, they made Sainz, who was in second place and with the same old rubber Leclerc was on, pit for soft tyres. Then, the unthinkable happened. At the start, when Leclerc was still in the lead and Carlos Sainz was behind him, the team asked him to stay as far as he could from his teammate, which according to the rules is 10 car lengths, in order to make Leclerc get a better start and get ever important points in what was still an open battle for the championship. After all, Verstappen got damaged during the race, meaning he was in 7th with a huge disadvantage. But Sainz, in hopes of getting his first victory of his career, decided to disobey team orders, staying really close to Leclerc, overtaking him and ending up winning the race. After the race, Leclerc tried to tell the team how disappointed he was in the strategy and in Sainz for not obeying them, and instead of apologies, he got scolded. But hey, at least we got this incredible photo of Binotto acting like his father. So it's clear that the red team has some problems with this kind of internal management, as we've also seen for an example in Brazil, when despite Leclerc's fight for second place, they didn't force Sainz to switch positions with him, missed move that could have costed him the deserved second place. But why has Leclerc compared himself to Verstappen and Hamilton? Well, these two have always had the advantage throughout their careers compared to their teammates. To cite some examples, during the 2018 Russian Grand Prix, Valtteri Bottas, who at the time was still driving for Mercedes, let Hamilton pass him so that he could win the race and gain some points over his championship rival, Sebastian Vettel, at the time still at Ferrari. This meant that Bottas literally gave up a win just for the team to have a smaller chance of losing the Drivers' Championship, which is incredible to think about and exactly what Sainz didn't do at Silverstone. Max Verstappen by himself is on a whole different level to everyone else. He was so good that he was given an F1 car at 16. Then at 18 he was switched to Red Bull mid-season because he was considered too good for his sister team. Then, throughout his career, he wasn't sacked by the team, even though on many occasions he would drive in a dirty way, would crash his car, and would generally be a menace in the paddock. Like the time he started pushing Ocon because he took him out of the race, or the time he called Stroll retarded in Portugal 2020. There are lots of examples like this. Man, he even called Alonso old in Canada after a first row grid position. It's clear that during his stay at F1, he was really privileged over his teammates, as Christian Horner probably saw a lot of potential in him, and rightly so, even though he screwed up on many occasions. A big example of this was also in Brazil, when despite him deciding not to switch positions with Sergio Perez, putting him at a disadvantage in the fight for second place in the championship, he didn't face any consequences. He stated that he'd given his reasons on why he decided not to switch, and the team just accepted them. They didn't even try to convince him to the move. This is outrageous if seen by anyone who doesn't know how Red Bull works internally. Even though it's the team who provides the car for the drivers, and even though they could have fired Verstappen years ago due to his conduct, they've decided to continue having him on their side, so that they can get the championships and the competitors don't, even if this means letting a spoiled kid drive their rocket ship of a car and letting him decide what to do or not do in these kinds of situations. And the worst part of this is that this is a profitable scheme for them. But why doesn't Ferrari do the same? Well, that's because of a few reasons. For one, none of their drivers are as fast or faster than Verstappen, and this is assured. The second one is that both of them want to be the Max Verstappen of their team. They both believe, for one reason or another, that they are the first driver in Ferrari, meaning they are not willing to give up positions in any circumstance. And sadly, that means that Ferrari just get their two drivers to fight each other while they are far away from first in the championship, meaning they get way less prestige and money to invest in the sport. In fact, as one of the team's engineers has said in an interview in Abu Dhabi regarding the topic of team orders, it is more discussed outside Ferrari than inside Ferrari. This gives us an idea of how little they care about being at the top and how much they prefer to let their drivers be happy, like if they were in a playground. The problem is that with this philosophy, no one is happy. Ferrari doesn't get as many points as it should do in the Constructors' Championship, meaning they finish in a lower position, the two drivers can't fight at the top without hurting each other's races, and the fans are sad because the team they like isn't as competitive as it used to be. You know what? The last one isn't right. After all these years, the Tifosi must have lost the last grams of hope they had in a Ferrari comeback. So, what do you think? Should Ferrari change its way of thinking by giving out mandatory team orders? What is the best way for the team to be at the top of the leaderboard from 2023 onwards? Let us know with a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, because at 10,000 subscribers, we're going to try and get inside of the Ferrari F1 team to help them out with the strategy, fixing one of the 1,000 problems they have. No, not really, but you should subscribe anyway.